is up, everybody? It's Mr. Hamilton. Welcome back to On the Couch. Today, movie review time. Marvel Studios, The Eternals. This movie was really good for the stories that they were telling in it, since it's not like one of the more major characters of what the MCU is. The story was very nicely told, deep, everything like that, emotional. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and review that. Spoilers will be ahead. I'll try to leave out a lot of stuff, but we're going to talk about a lot of things, including the after credit scenes. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, go see it and then come back and come check out my review. Before we do start, if you guys want to support the channel, if you guys like my reviews and everything like that, hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you guys hit the bell so you guys get notified when I'm dropping new content. So, Eternals. Eternals follows the story of how these beings came and pretty much helped shape humanity and help further and help advance their technology and the roads and everything that has to deal with. And also, we get into Celestials, more of the Celestials and what their role is in this story. Now, here's what I like. They really did a lot of, like, you know, how people say aliens came and helped further humans and their technology and advance them and everything like that. And that's what really weighs heavy on this, is that, you know, in like the first scene they come and it's like way back in, like, I guess like the Jesus days, you know, so to speak. You know, she gives him a knife because you first see them, they're on there. He's using a stone knife to cut open fish. She gives him like a metal knife. You know, that furthers them. And then as you go along, it's like the next thing is like a plow, this, that. The advanced guy, you know, he's giving them like, yeah, at first he wants to give them the engine like right off the bat. And they're like, let's start a little bit slower. But it's crazy because as powerful as these beings are, they're not perfect. As the time goes on, you know, the one dude, he starts to realize, he's like, we pushed them too far. Like, we advanced them way too far. Their weapons are becoming too powerful, and it's creating conflict. And all of them had their own ideas about how it was supposed to be. You had Druig, who just wanted to control their minds and, you know, completely just, you know, end it as like that. And, you know, you like Ajax said, you can't, they were no longer able to be in the conflict. They couldn't persuade them or anything like that. They couldn't I can't think of the word right now. But they weren't allowed to interject or anything like that. They couldn't do anything. They had to sit there and watch and let them grow and, you know, do what it is that they were supposed to do. And eventually the Eternals end up breaking up. They're all different ideas, and they all end up splitting up. Now, I had a theory, and it kind of made sense, and then it kind of didn't make sense, is that if you looked, everybody kind of had their own race. Like, there was, like, the Indian dude, the Asian girl, the black guy, the British guy, the Scottish, you know, the Irish one. And I was thinking that when they all break up, they all go to different parts of the world, and then they end up creating their own race of people, which kind of then, you know, populates the planet, which I don't, but then now thinking about it, they're robots, so I don't think that they could actually procreate or anything like that. So that was my idea of how, like, more different races came out. And then I also thought the one technologically advanced guy, I thought he was going to be the one that, like, you know, started Wakanda, and that's why they were so technologically advanced, was because of him. But then I realized, okay, there's no the meteor from, you know, vibranium comes out, and that's what helps them. So my theories pretty much went and shattered themselves into millions of pieces. Anyway, so then later they learned that Ajax dies, and I can't remember any of these people's names. Cersei ends up having to talk with Harisham, or whatever his name was. And, you know, he tells her, all right, you're going to be the one to lead them. And then he ends up, you know, just dropping the biggest bomb on her, saying, you guys are just robots. you guys were once upon a time the deviants did what you did. They got out of order, so then I created you guys to take care of them. And every time a new planet dies, you guys get erased, and then I take your memories and put it into a new one, and life goes over and ever again. And the population, the shared minds, is what feeds a celestial to be born out of a planet. So then they realize that they've just been blowing up planets to help celestials get born over and over again. And Cersei ends up loving humans, so she's like, not this planet, we can't do it like that, we got to find another way. Along the world, you find certain people aren't who they say they are. There's people who still believe in the mission. There's people who have had a change of heart. There's a lot of, for these people who are robots or who are created, they still have a lot of free will in like the way they think. It seems like the Celestials would have thought about that and would have taken that away from them if they were being built. But that's what I was thinking. So, the other thing about the movie I liked was like the comedy actually hit. Sometimes Marvel's comedy can be a little bit overbearing. There was maybe a couple times it was, but for me it hit a lot. Like Kumail Nanjiani, I love his character. I love him in movies. He's just his type of comedy is just funny to me. So I loved his character. I loved how he pretty much played an action hero through all the centuries. And that was the other thing, is that all these people lived for thousands of years, so they all had an effect of certain things. Like Sprite kind of made Peter Pan the story, and she put in a lot of her, like not being able to grow up, her being Tinkerbell, can't be with Peter because they're two different, he's big, she's small, and she had her own love interest out of one of the Eternals, and she was like, I can't be with that person because I look like I'm a 12-year-old child. All the old stories of them are like old, like nursery rhymes or old things that we've heard of, came from them. Like Icarus, the story of Icarus, and other things. There were stories that they pretty much told and became, fairy tales or the nursery rhymes and things that we've heard and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. The look of it was really good. The animation, the CGI, the special effects were really good, especially like when they were showing him coming out of the water, out of the volcano. Now, all that was good, but the one part that I took away was the speedsters. The way they showed her moving fast was so dope. I wish they could have did more of it, but it was probably so expensive to do it, but it looked so good. And then the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, DC, why can't you do that for the Flash? Like, that looks dope. And then, like, when she's fighting basically what is Superman, and she's like punching him hella fast. I'm like, dude, these fights rival what DC's doing with their own characters. Marvel has their versions of their own, but I was like, this almost like rivals the Justice League versus Superman fights that was in the Justice League. And I just love the fight scenes in there. Like, they're not overbearing, they're not crazy, they're not like explosions going off and all, like the Avengers are like, their battles are like, oh, whoa, like these ones were more thought out, tactical and stuff like that, but they were very fun to watch. I thought the ending was a little anticlimactic, how she just froze him and turned him into the Celestial coming out, turning into a big block of ice, who looked like Goldar from the Power Rangers to me, but I thought it was a little anticlimactic. I get it. There's no real way to take him down, so either freezing him or putting him to sleep was probably the best. And I thought about it. None of the Avengers could have done that. I don't even know if Doctor Strange could have even handled a Celestial like that, because they all had to like connect their intelligence, become the Unimind, and she had to use her power, or all their powers, including the power of Tiamin, to do what she did. So it did create a massive amount of power for her to do that, and it's understandable why the Avengers couldn't even think about like touching that, which makes me think if they ever do Galactus, like holy hell, those battles are going to be crazy. Another thing I thought about is that the way the Celestials are born is because of the collective consciousness of the human beings. So the more people are there, the more it feeds the Celestial. Thanos really messed it up when he snapped half of everybody existent. It stopped or slowed it down completely. And then when they brought everybody back, it started it up again. Had the Eternals not been there or whatever, the snap bringing them back would have been most detrimental to Earth. And Thanos actually saved the planet from being completely obliterated by Celestial. So it makes you think, like, Thanos really actually saved the planet 5 years ago, and bringing everybody back, I mean, unbeknownst to them, was actually a bad idea. But fortunately enough, the Eternals were there to, help put a stop to it and everything like that. There's the characters. I love the character development. I love everybody's character. They all have a purpose, and it's none of them are really wasted. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, even though not everybody gets the screen time, but when people show up, you're like, okay, that's cool. I get it. I also love the fact that the deviants start to transform and mutate and everything like that. And then also, like, speaking on with, like, other things we heard of, like, when it comes to, like, mythology, like, there was Athena, who was the goddess of war, but then she translated over to, in Greek mythology, to Athena, but her real name was Thena. And the funny scene was her when they were all talking when they were in the ship, and she was leaning on a statue of herself. I was like, is that Thena leaning on Athena? I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. That's cool. Another theory that I had is that kind of helped me, that made me think about certain things. Jesus. So another thing a theory that I had was like the weapons. The dude who looked almost exactly like Wong, he had what appeared to be like the gauntlets that could have been, the 10 rings from Shang-Chi. The black dude, he had they look like Shuri's gauntlets that she had. And I was like, oh, maybe like they leave these things behind. And then, but I was also, this is also in the future, like now, so that couldn't have happened. Yeah, all my theories were just getting blasted to bits as the movie kept going on. So, yeah. All in all, this movie was great. Like, I think it could have been a standalone movie. Like, if that movie was just about how humans created and the interaction between space beings and everything like that, and it had nothing to do with the MCU, still would have been a great movie. It's not in my top 5 Marvel movies, but I would definitely watch it again. It was entertaining. Loved it. Yeah. Now, the first, like I said, if you've been watching this and you haven't seen it, I'm going to talk about the after credit scene. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, don't say I didn't warn you. The first credit scene was we actually get our first look at Thanos' brother Eros, aka Star Fox. And he's supposed to help them go find the Eternals because apparently 3 of them got taken by Harrim, whatever his name is. The way he turned himself into a black hole and disappeared was so cool. Dude. He was just like gone. But so he comes and he's going to help them find the other Eternals, which is cool. So does that hint to a sequel? I know the director said that they didn't necessarily need a sequel, so it's either A, there's going to be another 2, or the Eternals story will continue in another movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. Who knows what's in store for the Eternals? Now, the second one, I had to do my homework on because I wasn't very, very familiar with with this character that they were going with and who was speaking to him. But my friend told me that his name is, I believe it's Dante Whitman, and he is actually the Black Knight. The sword that we saw is called the Ebony Sword, and the gist of him is that when he uses the sword, there's so much blood on it that it, in fact, the longer he uses it, it actually makes him go insane. And he kind of walks that line of, like, darkness and light. He's like one of the best swordsmen in the MCU. has crazy powers and stuff like that. But it's not so much of him, but the person who's talking to him who says, "Are you sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?" And I had to look it up who it was, and it was none other than Mahershala Ali, which means that was Blade who was talking to him. They are trying to set up the Blade movie and whatever it is that's going on in that universe, or not universe, whatever's going to happen in that story, which I believe between the multiverse of madness and the Blade movie, I think things are going to start getting very dark in the MCU. I think we're going to go down the world of almost like Marvel Knights, like Ghost Rider and all those like darker characters that aren't necessarily heroes but aren't necessarily villains, who kind of walk that fine line of like light and dark. I feel like they're going to start incorporating these darker heroes, which I'm all 100% for. So yeah, that blows my mind that it's Blade and the Dark Knight, because in the comic books, I believe it's MI16 or MI13 that they're a part of, that they kind of end up, working together. So that means Blade will have, obviously either a rival or somebody who's going to help him. So a lot to look forward to in this next phase of Marvel that's getting kicked off. Yeah, so that is my review, guys. Hopefully I didn't spoil too much, but hopefully I did get you guys excited enough to go watch this movie, because it's great. And to all those people hating on this movie over the gay characters, man, excuse my language, but fuck you. Like, it's a character. It doesn't add or take away from the movie or the character is. It's just representation, and it needed to be in there. Get over it. I didn't see people complaining about the sex scene in Marvel, which was the first for Marvel. So the people like review bombing it, like, get out of here. The movie was great. Like, if you're one who's on the fence about the Rotten Tomatoes and saying, "Oh, maybe I should," no, go see it. Go see it for yourself. Make a decision for yourself. If you didn't like it, then you didn't like it, but at least you went and saw it. Don't listen to other people and all that other stupid shit. Go make a decision for yourself and go see the movie. That's all I got to say about that. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the couch for another movie review. Once again, guys, if you guys want to help support the channel, man, just right now, just hit the subscribe button. That's all I ask of you guys right now. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, become a person, sit on the couch. Oh, and by the way, this is what I give. I'm giving Eternals 4 out of 5 couch cushions. Great movie. There was a few down times where it was kind of like, but yeah, 4 out of 5 couch cushions. But yeah, thank you guys so much for everybody who's supporting the channel. I appreciate it. Once again, guys, I am Mr. Hamilton. Peace.